Hello, Crucible critics, and welcome to the next KeyForge video. This video is, I guess, technically the second, but it is kicking off our big kind of month of KeyForge stuff in anticipation of Winds of Exchange. You've probably seen me say it already. I mentioned it in the description of the last video. I'm gonna make a community post to the day that I'm recording this about it. But I'm going to, in anticipation for Winds of Exchange and the stuff being delivered from the Game Found, going to be pumping out a bunch of more content. I'm gonna do a upload every Monday of this month. I'm hoping to get a couple more things out as well. We'll see if life permits me doing that, but I am certainly going to try. So keep your eyes peeled maybe for some more shorts or something else. We'll see. But without further ado, let's see what kind of deck we're rocking with today. We've got 3 more after this. The display's almost done. We've got a purple Archon, we've got Untamed, Logos, and Dis. Okay, I love Dis and Logos. Untamed can be really good if we get some really good witch combos. I seem to be really unlucky when it comes to Untamed typically, but we also have this really cool looking Archon here. Let's see if I can show it off without a glare. It's like holding 2 sides, very symmetrical, very cool. Okay, well, give me one moment and we'll get into the card reveal. And here we are with the card reveal. I realized in the first section I didn't actually say the name of the deck. It is Zendaya, Everlasting Indie, Rook. It's a very interesting name. Everlasting Indie. I'm trying to see if that rings any bells in my head. For some reason it feels like it does. Anywho, set the Archon card off to the side here, and let's get into it. Okay, so we're starting in Untamed here with Lupo the Scarred, a 6-power creature with Skirmish. Play, deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. Not bad. Love some creature control. A 6-power Skirmish is pretty awesome. There's a quote on here. Nothing that big should be able to move that silently. Lost Lucas Lawrence. Okay, I wonder who that is. And a card that was in our last deck that I'm not too fond of is Life Web. It's got an Amber Pip on it. It's an action. Play, if your opponent played 3 or more creatures on their previous turn, steal 2 Amber. You got 2 of those. Then we've got Camouflage, which isn't bad. It is a upgrade with an Amber Pip. Creatures not on a flank cannot fight this creature. Oh, then we've got some more creature control with an action and another Amber Pip. Nice. The action, They're Everywhere. Play, deal 2 damage to each enemy flank creature and 1 damage to each enemy creature not on a flank. Great way to spread around damage. Let's hope we get something like Misery Exploit and Dis, or something else that can really take advantage of that damage spread. And we've got Rustnar here, a 4-power creature with Fight. Destroy an artifact. If that artifact had an Amber bonus on it, you gain that much Amber. Pretty nice. 2 of those. Some weaker form of artifact control, but it's nice to have, especially if we end up without any artifact control. Then we've got Persistence Hunting here, an action with an Amber bonus. Play, choose a house, exhaust each enemy creature of the chosen house. Okay, more creature control. Got Marmoswarm, 2-power creature with Marmoswarm gets 1 power for each Amber in your pool. Not bad, it can get pretty big. I like Marmoswarm when you have cards that can kind of rally off of those Amber effects. Rapid Evolution is a good one, which I think is from Mass Mutations. Or if you look at Waste Not, because it gives you card draw based off the power. So if you can build up a heavy Amber turn or Reap Out, and then hit Marmoswarm with the Waste Not, it can be pretty good. 2 of those. Then we've got Full Moon, nice. Okay, we've had a lot of creatures, so this would help us get some use out of those Rustnars and Marmoswarms if we can craft a hand like that. Full Moon, it's an action. Play, for the remainder of the turn, gain 1 Amber each time you play a creature. Mathematically, a moon orbiting the Crucible is impossible. Then what is that? I wonder who's talking there. That's funny. Ooh, okay, awesome. And then we got a Dusk Witch. It's a 1-power creature with Omega, Elusive, and your creature's interplay ready. Very formidable. One of those things that once you finish a turn like that, your opponent wants to get rid of them real fast. Okay, then we're into Logos. It looks like we have no rares in Logos, unfortunately. But we're starting with a Jar Goggle. 2-power elusive creature with play. Put a card from your hand face down under Jar Goggle. Destroy. If it is your turn, play the card under Jar Goggle. Otherwise, archive that card. Okay, this could be a great way to cycle some of the untamed cards in our hand if we don't really care when they get played exactly, or if we just really want to get them archived so that we can get some more draw towards the other houses. Jar Goggle could be very helpful. Ooh, ZYX Researcher, some really good recursion here. It's a 2-power creature with play. Archive the top card of your deck or the top card of your discard pile. Let's hope we have some good targets in Logos for that. Got a Wild Wormhole here. It's got an Amber bonus on it, and it's an action that says play the top card of your deck. Ooh, 2 of those. You have to be careful about this. If we have board wipes or something like Titan Mechanic, you can get a lot of trouble if you can't cover it up behind yourself. Accidentally put your opponent into check. Then we have Titan Mechanic here, 6-power creature with while Titan Mechanic is on a flank, each key costs -1. We've got the action Poke. It's got an Amber bonus on it, and it says play, deal 1 damage to an enemy creature. If this damage destroys that creature, draw a card. Then we've got Pip Pip. Love Pip Pip. After an enemy creature reaps, stun it. Love cards like this that say specifically enemy. There are a lot of discards for some reason that, while maintaining the same like power level, say that all creatures. And then an excellent artifact here with Library of Babel. It's a Logos artifact that just says action, draw a card. Flavor text says, when you make an archive of all knowledge in the universe, don't be surprised when you understand almost none of it. That's funny, that's interesting. Oh, and Library of Babel, the quote is similar to the story of Tower of Babel. I get it. Then we've got Hexbion here, 2-power creature. It reads, destroyed, archive Hexbion and the top card of your deck. We've got a lot of decent archiving in Logos. Ooh, and then we've got, oh, this will be tricky. Okay, we've got Binate Rupture. It's an alpha card, play. Each player gains Amber equal to the Amber in their pool. Oh, and then we've got an Archimedes. Fantastic. 2-power creature with elusive, and each of Archimedes' neighbors gains destroyed, archive this creature. Okay, and that is all for our Logos. Then we've got, going straight into Dis, one of my favorite rares. If you've seen me talk about it online, Dis is currently my favorite house. It'll probably get superseded by Geistoids once Grim Reminder comes out, because I love the theming, you know, the ghost cyborgs and stuff like that. A house long forgotten crawling back. But my favorite mechanic is Purge, just because I think how interesting it is and how you can kind of shape your deck around it. I've been playing a lot with my deck that purges cards like crazy. And I've gotten pretty good at piloting it, I think. I almost beat a Ginka deck with it the other day. We were 1 key apart, but so I love Creeping Oblivion. It's a action that reads, or that has an Amber bonus and reads play, purge up to 2 cards from a discard pile. Up to is nice because it means that you can choose none if you really just want the Amber bonus and there's no good purge targets. Then we have the creature here, Spider, 2-power with Skirmish. Spider gains poison when attacking an enemy creature on a flank. Enemy flank creature. Ooh, okay. And then we got one of the special creatures from Dis and Age of Ascension, the Bronze Key Imp. It's 2-power elusive, and players can't forge their first key. Okay, so with this deck, we really want to burst up and get Bronze Key Imp out there fast. I'd say hope for some big Logos turns for efficiency, maybe archive a bunch of the untamed creatures and stuff, and then get to an untamed turn with a full moon. If we can get into our 3rd turn being straight into Dis with Bronze Key Imp, that could be really powerful. Forge our first key and then lock it away. You've got Blood Shard Imp, 2-power. After a creature reaps, its controller must sacrifice it. Interesting, okay. I haven't had any super crazy reap effects, so Blood Shard Imp could be pretty strategically used in this deck, I feel. Then we've got Anguish here, 6-power creature with, for each damage on Anguish, your opponent's keys cost +1 Amber. Not bad. Some amber control. I'm wondering, I don't think we had any amber control in the other houses, so it's good to see that we're finally getting some in this here with the Key Imp and Anguish, and then Schuler here. It's a 5-power creature with play. If your opponent has 4 amber or more, steal 1 amber. Ooh, okay. Speaking of amber control, we've got the artifact Lash of Broken Dreams. It's got an action that says, keys cost +3 amber during your opponent's next turn. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, if I'm looking for amber control, we'll definitely end up playing this. 4-power creature, Charette, with play, capture 3 amber. Nice. Oh, 2 of those. Okay, fantastic. Then we've got the action Banish. It's got an amber bonus on it, and play, put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives. Nice. And we've got Amber Imp here, a 2-power elusive creature that says after a creature reaps, stun it. So some more creature control. A worse version of Pip that we saw earlier. This one has elusive, but it makes it so that our own creatures would get stunned. 2 of those. Okay. So there is a decent amount of control in here. It doesn't seem too shabby. I love Dis, and Dis really came to play with the amber control in this deck. I'd be interested to see what decks of KeyForge has to say about it. There isn't anything in particular that I see this deck doing like super well, but I feel like it's relatively well-rounded. We've got some creature control in Untamed and Logos. Logos has a lot of efficiency and archiving, and then we've got Dis for just a bunch of amber control and some minor creature control with Bloodshard Imp and Amber Imp. And that Bronze Key Imp is awesome. I love seeing decks with the Key Imps. So, alright, I'll be back in just a second with the deck breakdown. And here is the deck breakdown. Got our usual piles here with the Amber Control, Expected Amber, Artifact Control, and then Creature Control. I'm honestly surprised. So here's the SAS number, 55. I was genuinely expecting it to be a little bit higher than this. The -2 in meta comes from a pretty low creature control. We don't have a whole lot of creature control cards or ways to facilitate it, which honestly, with the way that this deck plays, I'm not sure it's as big as a problem as it looks. And then we've got a -1 from the anti-synergy, which comes mostly from the fact that we have a high creature count for things like Amber Imp and Bloodshard Imp. But then also there's some anti-synergy coming from the fact that we have a Binate Rupture and 2 Wild Wormholes, so it can't play, Binate Rupture, can't play alpha cards. But I don't know, I feel like maybe this can punch above its weight class a little. Go ahead, here are the extras and counts. We've got 10 bonus amber, which is nice, 11 actions, which is a little bit below average, 1 upgrade in the form of camouflage, which is also a little below average, but that is because we have 21 creatures. Seems like the actions and upgrades were pulled into our creature count there. And then in our archive feature, let's see, we've got Archimedes, Jargle, and Zerax Researcher as forms of targetive archiving, and then Hexbion for random archiving, which is nice. Those are some pretty good archiving targets. Would have liked to have seen some more bonus amber here. Again, I always feel really confident with bonus amber once you kind of break through the, 18 threshold, because it's like, oh, okay, all 3 keys are on bonus amber. I just have to play through my deck and then try and protect it. So when you get something like 10, it's like, okay, I'll have to play through my deck and then hope that the rest of the expected amber effects come out pretty good and, etc. So wish we had a few more of those, but nothing you can do about it. We'll go ahead and get those out of the way. And there is our Amber and Control section. We've got a 7.7 in Amber Control, 18 expected Amber, which is nice, but again, wish we had like 8 more. Our only artifact control is those 2 Rustnars, and then there's the 4.5 creature control. Let's get into it. With our Amber Control, we're starting with the Bronze Key Imp. It wasn't rated super high. In fact, it was the lowest rated creature via decks of KeyForge, but I really love these effects. And I think that if you play it properly, while it's not super hard to get rid of a 2-power elusive creature, they can still hold out like a turn or two, you know, forcing an opponent to be unable to forge. And the way that the rest of our Amber control works with Lash of Broken Dreams raising key cost and Shret capturing it. You know, Schuler can steal 1, but Anguish is increasing key cost. All of it is very temporary. We're not stealing a whole lot of Amber. We're not throwing any Amber into the common supply. So if we can, you know, once they finally break through that initial control and they're ready to forge their first key, if we can play Bronze Key Imp just as another holdover and they can't get rid of it, you know, the very next turn, then that could be really, really powerful. So I think maybe it's a little understated. I think the later Key Imps are better, obviously, because you have more time to get to them in your deck and more fluid stuff. I think the Silver Key Imp is probably the best. The Gold Key Imp that stops you from forging your third key is iffy, because once you forge your third key, the game's complete, so you can only ever play it when you yourself haven't forged your third key. But it's great in a pinch, and if you have a key cheat in that deck, you could kill your own key imp and then perform the cheat, but he's there at the bottom. Then our life webs, which honestly I had completely forgotten about by the end of the card reveal, but if we can get it to happen, that is a lot of stealing. If your opponent played 3 or more creatures on their previous turn, hopefully we can get both of them off on a good turn, because that would give us, you know, 1 Amber, 2 stolen, 1 Amber, 2 stolen from both of these. It's 6 Amber if we can get it to go off. Then we've got our Schuler here with, if our opponent has 4 or more Amber, we steal 1. Stealing is always welcome. Anguish, increasing our opponent's key cost here. And then the 2 Shrets capturing, and the Lash of Broken Dreams as a repeatable key cost increaser. So all of it is dis, except for the 2 life webs. So if we need to do Amber control, we are almost certainly calling on dis. And then into the expected Amber. A lot of it was the bonus Amber, so there aren't actually a whole lot of cards here. We've got the Titan mechanic at the bottom here, which reduces key cost by 1 if it's on a flank. Then we've got our Dusk Witch, which I think is just in here because if we can keep it alive till our next turn, creatures entering play ready are almost certainly going to reap or do some sort of effect that gains us Amber. So I felt comfortable placing them there after seeing it on decks at KeyForge. Binate Rupture, of course, doubling both players' Amber, which again, if we're in a really comfortable position with our Bronze Key Imp, you know, maybe it's worth it. If our opponent, we check their, you know, deck list and they don't have any exponential Amber control, like Burn the Stockpiles or something, then we can get into it and be like, oh, you can't forge your first key? Well, I'm on my second. I'll just give you a crap ton of Amber, but also give myself enough to hopefully stop them from being able to stop you. And then Full Moon here, which is pretty good. We've got a high creature count, so again, hopefully when we're archiving, we're hitting a lot of the untamed creatures when we're archiving through our logos. A big Full Moon turn would be really important for this deck, I think. Then, of course, here we are in the artifact control. This isn't anything crazy, but I like that there's 2, and I like that we have a full moon. Rustnar, I find, can be pretty good, but 4 power is also a pretty awkward range. I feel often when I'm playing a deck with Rustnar that there are a lot of situations where I find myself wanting to destroy an artifact with Rustnar, but the enemy has creatures that are all 4 power or more, and so Rustnar would die and its effect wouldn't take place. But having 2 of them, you know, hopefully you can play them both down, your opponent sees the threat, takes care of one of them, and then hopefully you can fight out with the other, get rid of something important. Also, depending on how important the artifacts are, we could do that with it, and then Creeping Oblivion it to purge them, so I have to hope we can cycle fast in this deck to get that Creeping Oblivion back out. And then here we are with our creature control. It is the 2 Amber Imps stunning any creature that reaps, the Bloodshard Imp sacrificing creatures that reap. I think these 2 are at the bottom just because it also targets us, and with our low expected Amber, we're going to want to be reaping, even if there aren't any super, beneficial creatures with powerful reap effects. We're going to need to get that Amber somehow. So it kind of stinks that we'll be stunning or killing our own creatures in addition to trying to stop our opponent. Then we've got Spider here, which is 2 power skirmish, which is pretty nice by itself, but it gains poison when it's attacking an enemy flank creature. So as long as it can get its damage through armor, it'll kill whatever it swings into. Then we've got Poke here, which isn't super powerful creature control, but it is by definition creature control with deal 1 damage to an enemy creature, and you always want to try and destroy those creatures so that you can get the draw effect off of it, so kind of lends itself towards that. Then we've got Pip here, which reads after an enemy creature reaps, stun it. Then Lupo the Scarred, 6 power skirmish, and play, deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. Lupo the Scarred is a great way to kind of get through taunt, get through those back lines, and just hit some of those low health creatures like Fuguru or something that's, you know, really low power but has been holding you up within your opponent's creature protection, as well as just being a 6 power skirmish that can take care of the big guys after. Then we've got Banish here, put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives. Persistence Hunting, which lets us choose a house and exhaust each creature of the chosen house. We want to hopefully go up against an opponent with 3 different houses than us for that card to be most effective. And then we've got They're Everywhere, which is play, deal 2 damage to an enemy creature, and then deal 2 enemy flank creatures, and then deal 1 damage to each enemy creature not on a flank. Which is pretty powerful. We didn't have any ways in this deck to take advantage of that like spread out damage, but it's still a great card. Hitting stuff like that can be really, really important, turning the tides of a game. Clear all this out. Get rid of that Amber and Control section. And our last section here that we're looking at is the speed and board. So nothing super to note here. Speed is decent. Two of the things in our efficiency are Wild Wormhole, which is interesting. I feel like most of the time Wild Wormhole is a pretty safe play with this deck, even if it's just to help you get cycling a lot quicker. The only problem is if you hit Binate Rupture and then it just sits right back on top of your deck. Our board is at a pretty average power with 86. The big creatures here are like Lupo the Scarred, both of our Marma Swarms, Anguish, Titan Mechanic, some pretty big power. Then we've got recursion in the form of Archimedes, Hexbion, and ZYX Researcher, because Hexbion recurs itself into your archives. Archimedes' neighbors get archived, and ZYX lets you pick the top of your deck or your discard pile to archive. Our only creature protection is the upgrade Camouflage. And then in Disruption we have Creeping Oblivion, and there is nothing in Other. All in all, I think the deck is pretty low rated. It's in the bottom like 10% of decks, but I don't know. I feel like if I sat down and really learned the ins and outs of the decks, what I'm looking for, while it wouldn't always perform super well because you can get really unlucky with some draws in something like this, I feel like it could certainly punch above its weight class in the hands of the right pilot. It's very, very interesting deck, and plus the Archon looks super cool. So, but that's it. Keep your eyes peeled. There will be another video next Monday. I'm trying to get a bunch of recording done now, so that I can knock out some other stuff later this month. It's a pretty busy month for us. I hope you guys are excited as I am. There are so much that I've planned, and I'm so excited to get Winds of Exchange in my hands, but everybody else's hands, Playing Winds of Exchange at our locals is going to be pretty awesome. I found out the other day that our store actually backed the Game Found. So before things are retailing, we'll actually be able to go ahead and get those Winds of Exchange decks from the store. So I'm super pumped, and I can feel the energy of our community building and the excitement building, and I love it, and you guys are awesome. So keep it up. And as a good friend Zach Armstrong always says, don't forget the most important part of KeyForge is the person sitting across the table. Have a great rest of your night, guys.